Hey writers! Today we're going to learn how to write small about big ideas. What in the world does that mean? So, you guys remember we're writing memoirs, which are true stories about our lives, and they have special meaning for us. So, writers, like you guys, usually are communicating about big ideas or themes in their writing. But at the same time, you want to write stories that are small and specific. So I'm going to show you guys some examples of writers in our class from last week, and we're going to notice what big idea they're talking about. So this first writer says, I love being a TikToker, but having a private account. But I have 5 followers in my account, but it's only family and friends, not like strangers. So yeah, I really don't want to show my account. I don't want people that I don't know will want to follow me on TikTok, but follow them to see I don't want them to see my account, but my mom said it has to be private, so no one see my videos except my family and friends. So this writer's big idea is about internet safety. Another writer says, I deleted a word here. This is my fault. She said, I feel weird when my mom says she has to pay bills and the owner of the house says she still has to pay more. It gets my nerves. And when I get some money for my birthday, I like to give it to my mom because she feeds me and buys me clothes. It's the most I can do for her. I love my mom and my dad, and I can't leave them without any money. So the idea this writer is exploring is money worries. And we had another writer who said, I play a lot of video games with my cousins because he's the only person I play video games. Oh, sorry, I messed up here. Video games with. Me and my cousin sometimes play every day after I'm done with homework and school. But when it's weekends, we either go out with my family, or if we're just staying home and my cousin's staying, we play video games. When we go to my grandma's house, my cousin will sometimes go, and I would sometimes bring my video game. So this writer is writing about friendship and family. So I just picked a part of each of these students' writing, which is why I cut off some words by accident, just to show the big idea that each of them was talking about. So each of them really talked about small, specific moments, right? Like this student's talking about her TikTok account, but she's also talking about a big idea of internet safety. This student talked about one specific day, her birthday, and what she did on it, but she's really talking about being worried about money. This student talked about a couple of specific times where he played video games with his cousin, but the big idea I see here is about friendship and family. So that's what we're going to practice today, is writing about a small moment to show something about a bigger idea. So this writer, this is their first try. So this is what they wrote at first. They said, I sometimes have a hard time being myself. I try to be like other people. It sometimes feels like everybody else does everything right and I just mess up everything. So I'm always looking to see what other people do. All I want is to be like other people, and this makes me feel really bad. When I think about this, I realize that I should be happy to be myself rather than being like somebody else. And this student is named Ree. So what big ideas is Ree exploring in their writing? Well, they're talking about wanting to be yourself, but wanting to fit in and not wanting to mess up. So it kind of sounds like a big idea here is self-confidence. But in this writing, their first try, they're not really telling me a story. They're telling me about the big idea. This is their second try, where they write really small. They tell me one tiny story that illustrates this big idea. So let's read this one. Up, down, up, down, up, down. My ballet teacher shouted out to the class. Oh, I wish this was over, I thought. Ree, her voice called over the music right to me. Your knee isn't straight. I looked down at my knee. This is all I can do. I don't have a skinny American knee. She come over to me and pushed my knee down like she was making a dough flat. Why do you have to do this to me? I screamed out in my head. I looked at the girl next to me. Her knee was back and flat. Ugh, if she's like that, why can't I be like that? As I stood there, my mother's voice come into my head. She said, be yourself, Ree. You're not Kathy or Paula or Helene. So this time, Ree was writing small, right? She told us about one time, one day in her life at this dance class. But she's telling us so much about self-confidence and fitting in this one little story. So she's getting at her big idea through a small moment. So a way to do this is to start and end in a way that shows those big ideas or those themes. And then in the middle, you're stretching out the parts of the story that illustrate that big idea or theme. So using quotations and dialogue, showing what you're thinking in your head, and sharing one small moment are a way to illustrate that big idea. So let's say that I'm going to try writing small. So what I'm going to write about is something that was really hard for me when I was younger, which was slowing down and doing a good job on things, because I tended to want to do a million things at one time and rush. So that's my big idea. So I'm going to start off with an opening sentence that shows that big idea of rushing and trying to do too many things. Okay, so I'm going to start with a little opening story to show this big idea. Crash, the plate smashed on the kitchen floor. Just do one thing at a time, my dad sighed. I guiltily look back at him, hands full of forks, plates, and food that I tried to carry from the table all at once. And so then I can kind of get into telling a big idea a little bit more and sharing what I'm thinking in my head. Okay, so now I would share a little bit like an inner monologue, right? A quotation of what's going on in my head. So I'd say, I always tried to do too many things at once, always too excited for whatever the next thing was. I'm such a mess. Why do I always do these things? I thought. I didn't like making mistakes, and I always felt guilty afterwards. But I'd also wanted to finish the dishes fast so I could read my new book. And so now I'm just going to finish this little story in a way that comes back to that main idea. So I'll say, I dejectedly grabbed the broom to clean up the plate. Suddenly, the phone rang. I looked at the plate and, whoops, at the phone. I can probably sweep while I talk on the phone, right? So again, at the end of my story, I'm still doing the same thing where I try to do too many things at once. So it's not a big idea, but it's an idea that shows something about who I was at that age. And as you can see, I used some quotations, right? I used some dialogue. I showed some inner thinking. This is a really small moment. So this is what you guys are going to do today for homework. You're going to write a small moment to teach us a big idea about you. Now, it could be your same big idea from the free write we did last week, or it could be a different big idea. That part's up to you. This is going to be a more finished piece of writing, so make sure you reread it a couple times, edit it, catch your mistakes. Ready? Let's get started.